We sometimes lose everything to find ourselves again.
It's going to be okay.
Do you really want to work here? We can afford you. Look around you. The rules we set for ourselves are the rules we live or die by.
So you think that I don't have a set of rules that I go by?
Quite the contrary.
Well, there you have it. Some films ask you to watch. Angels, They Are Amongst Us asks you to notice, because the internationally award-winning film opens nationwide at Ster-Kinekor, Metro, Alpha Cinemas across South Africa and Namibia. It's directed by Robert Benjamin, and the film, it begins in loss and it moves through romance, holds the ache of starting over, and then leaves you with a question that follows you home. This film is also 21 years of refusal to quit. Director Robert Benjamin asked one question. This was back in 2003. And has not kept chasing it. So for more, we're actually going to be joined by the director, Robert Benjamin, and one of the cast members, Sello Maake kaNcube. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
What a stellar cast. And the man with the voice, our own, you know, Sello, I mean, it was, thank you to all of you for joining us firstly. But Robert, before I bring his character into the convo, perhaps you can speak to us about this journey that's been traversed for 21 years. 21 years is a coming-of-age story in itself. And yes, the recognition, the anticipation now that it's open in Ster-Kinekor and in cinemas in South Africa and Namibia. But tell us what that question was, and then has it been answered, or is it still ever evolving?
It's a supernatural question.
Okay.
All right, so right down to the point, I think it was early in the morning, around 2 o'clock in the morning, I had a Samuel moment where I heard God calling me. And I went to the other room, I lied down, and God said to me, "Are you prepared to lose everything for my namesake?" And I got up, I walked back into my other room. It's like, no, God, I had nothing when we grew up. Why are you asking me this? At that point, we had accumulated quite a few things. And but just before that question, I had two encounters, which is why this movie is about angels. I arrived home from a film set one evening, and as I turned into the driveway, I saw an angel standing at my front door. And I had to look back at the wall, and just to make sure I'm not going into the wall, I looked back, the blink of a moment, it was gone. And then the second time, a few months later, I came down the staircase, and there was an angel standing at the front door again, but this time on the inside. But it was just a blink of a moment. So those two things happened, and then the calling that happened afterwards. And then a year later, God asked me, "Are you now prepared to turn your work around?" Because at that time, I've made two small movies, you know. Are you able to turn your work around and glorify me in your work? And then I had this script called Beyond Anger. It was lying there for about 6 years. It's about a teacher going to a reform school, and here we are. So that became Angels, They Are Amongst Us when I brought the spiritual part into the story.
I wanted to speak to how oftentimes they don't also have to be supernatural beings. They can be angels amongst us in the form of humans, right? And Sello, as an artist and as a practitioner, I mean, you also aid that healing process because you become a vessel, and you've also portrayed so many characters in your lifetime. So when it comes to that spiritual connection, that emotional depth and authenticity, what was that calling for you, and how did you then best prepare?
You know, there's one theater guru, in fact, I read that from a book. Richard Bolelevsky has written a book called Acting, The 6 Lessons of Acting. And in his introduction, he says something very profound. And he says, acting, like priesthood, is a calling. You know, and you actually just, you know, gave us a lovely similar, metaphor when you said, as actors, we are vessels. And that's what we are. You know, I carry the vessel, I'm a vessel that carries all kinds of the human condition. You know, and that is what I've resigned myself for. But talking about, you know, God speaking to you, I remember one moment, in fact, when you were talking about yours, it reminded me, I think it was in 1988, I was in Zimbabwe. Okay. And I think prior to that, I'd done, in fact, I'd actually just done As Good Is Nice, where I was playing Joko, you know, and the amazing thing was, during that time, when I was doing it, I was living in town, and I was living in town when town was actually a preserve for the whites. So I ended up, but they were opening up the spaces at that time as well. And I was living in a block of flats. Enstie's building, I can still remember it, in front of and there used to be OK on Jubet Street, you know, but I lived there, and I was sharing with a certain lady from Canada, because I had just returned from Canada, and she came to South Africa to actually come and work at the market. And those days when I was shooting Good Is Nice, I mean, I was drinking every day. But the thing was, every time I came from set, I went, you know, to the flat, and the flat was so quiet. All you would hear was a little chihuahua going, bah, 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 as you walked into the bus. And that silence used to, I mean, frustrate me. And I would actually end up going out and going. There used to be a club called Jameson. I'll end up going there and drink. And that drinking carried on when I went to shoot, a dry white season in Zimbabwe. And that whole drink, and one day after set, I mean, I drank and, I mean, stumbled into my hotel room. And as I stumbled, and I plunked myself in my bed, you know, and all of a sudden I almost like had a voice saying, "What are you doing to yourself?" And I ended up going like this, checking who's talking to me. But at that moment I started reflecting, and I saw how I was drinking at that time, and even reflected on that. And God speaks to us all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it is just that little voice that speaks in your mind.
We make
or
it
in
out
your
this
heart.
imagination
And-
sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and do we have the eyes and the ears to see and to listen, right? And to
Absolutely.
respond, because
Absolutely.
it's about what you're called and what you answer
Yeah.
to as well.
Absolutely.
So with these themes,
Yeah.
which are universal in the hero's journey,
Yeah.
grief, loss, love,
Yeah.
talk to us about how it played out without giving away too much of the plot, and how healing came about as a result for you then.
So it's really about purpose. It's about people who are really lost. You know, they don't know where to go.
Yes.
But we don't know sometimes, you know, that God speaks to us through dreams, through visions. People come up to you, they talk to you, you know, and they tell you certain things, and you just make it off as nothing, right? So one of the things about the story is that you ask for help, but sometimes you forget that the help is standing right next to you. And it's about that, you know, that you gotta open your eyes. I mean, there's a moment in the story, I'm not trying to give it away, but there's a moment, it's about literally closing your eyes and seeing the real world around you.
Closing to the illusion
Yeah.
and seeing spirit form as well.
It's like a matrix moment. It's like there's a world of the matrix, but then being able to see with your closed eyes that this is not the real world. You know, there is something bigger than this.
Yep.
Is there a responsibility as an actor to portray the character in the way you have? I'm asking this because it's a 21-year project. So this is his passion, his purpose as well. How do you find that alignment as well in that? And then what would have been your own healing journey through that? How did you answer that voice, by the way?
I think, if God, I remember I did a play 1997, and in one of one of the characters says that if God lives, he lives in, if God is present, he lives in my conscience. You know, and sometimes we never, or we resist listening to our own conscience, to our own conscience. And I think also where it comes for me, if I was living in a very, healthy world and healthy country, all I would do is act. Because there's nothing that fascinates me more than the human condition. And being a vessel for me is like being a glass. And when you take glass, you put water, it will take the reflection of water. You put Coke, it takes the reflection of Coke. You put Fanta, you put beer, whatever you put in. And basically, if there's one thing that is amazing about being an actor for me, is actually being this transparent thing that radiates or reflects anything about the human condition.
Who's a real-life angel you've met in real life, Robert? I'm going to ask you that after Sello answers. and why? Just simply, what would have stood out about them?
about
A real life person that would have served as an angel in an angel form as well for you.
You know, I mean, the angels are amongst us. The angel spirit is in our children. The angel spirit is in our parents. But you just have to have the eyes to see it. But most of the time, what we tend to do, we tend to focus on the wrongs that the people are doing. But there's always that little thing in everybody, in our children, in our mothers, in our uncles, and whatever, that you, for yourself, we are responsible. I mean, but the soul is dyed by the colors of our thoughts.
Yes. And it's reflected through our eyes and our faces.
Exactly. And
well.
so it depends on how you look at the world.
So, Robert, on the back of that, anyone that comes to mind for, and also just remind us, because it is in South Africa, it is in Namibia, so that response to, you know, from the audience as well, the resonance. Walk us through what you want people to walk away with, and remind us about how long it's running, etc.
All right. So, sure, there's a lot of questions.
I know. Find it. No. Catch the balloons.
Okay, so just an angel is like, you know, there was a point where I tried to help God to find the money to make the movie, right?
Okay.
And I got to a point where I had to stop.
Gotcha.
Then I got a phone call from somebody that I don't know, asked me to meet with someone who's got music. So I had to go and speak to this person about music. That is the person that I don't know that put millions into our business account, who told me a few months ago that when I gave you the money, I signed the contract, but I didn't read the contract.
Oh.
Now that's God sending someone, right? A real life angel, if you want to talk about that.
Wow.
The music, when we couldn't finish the movie with how we wanted to do, get an email from LA. A composer in Hollywood said, I see you busy doing this movie. I want to do it. I said, I want an orchestral score, but I don't have the money anymore. He says, send me some of the visuals. He did the orchestral score for me. He said, pay me afterwards, right? The person who did the marketing walked into a shop. He sees me, talks to me, and then he takes the movie on to film festivals on his own. There's a lot of things that just people walked in, you know.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So it's a date with destiny.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the movie, I mean, the movie opened on the 24th.
On Friday,
Yes.
yeah.
On Friday.
Yeah.
And
So we're counting box office opening weekend. We need it to
exactly.
happen.
So
Yes.
Ster-Kinekor is only until this Friday. If the first 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, do not have enough money, then they cancel it by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
New Metro has given us 2 weeks, but Ster-Kinekor has given us 1 week. But the one thing that the people have experienced when they watch at the premiere and the people over the weekend, the last 2 days, is that they're experiencing a presence.
Okay. That presence is to realign and reconnect us. So thank you. It's a day for destiny, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave our convo there. All that's left to do is head out to the various cinemas and go and watch it. I mean, director Robert Benjamin, veteran actor Sello Maake kaNcube joining us, talking about the film Angels. They are amongst us. It's currently showcasing in South Africa and Namibian cinemas alike.